Welcome, lovers. I want to talk to you about relationship, our inner relationship with our own yin and yang, and specifically women's fear of men. And so this, all of us need to watch this, I think, or have these discussions, have it open and conscious in our mind that women hold fear of men. And so this is because of obvious reasons. The patriarchal system has had men perpetrating violence for centuries, and still in many parts of the world, and everywhere in the world, just some places to a larger degree. So because men have been these perpetrators of violence and control, and then women hold in their bodies this fear of what could happen. And even if a woman knows it is irrational, like I can think of a few women in long-term relationships with honorable, safe, loving men. But inside the body, because she had earlier trauma, unwanted touch, it might have been more, extreme. It might have been abuse or repeated. And also when there's this unwanted touch or this forward movement that doesn't feel safe, and she learned as a young person to contract and pull back because I don't know what this man is going to do. If she didn't get support around that, love around that, someone knowing even about that and kind of holding her and like, oh, I'm so sorry you were scared, honey. It's okay. If she didn't get that, then she's fearful of the man. Some part of her body remembers that, remembers like, it might not be safe. It might not be safe. It might not be safe. Even when a father, for instance, or a loud booming voice comes in and like, hey, and it might have just been that your father or somebody had a sibling even had a loud booming voice. A woman that is very yin by nature, yin by nature, will contract back like, I don't know if I'm safe, and there's this pulling in, this holding of the breath. So that stays in the body. That stays in the body until we do the work to open, breathe it out, move it out, sweat it out, and be conscious of, I want to let that go. Wow, I notice that I'm contracting back and fearful. What's that about? Get curious about it. We don't have to necessarily stay very long in some old memory at all. Sometimes we need to see where originally it came from, and not always. But we want to move through that so that you're feeling stronger and more capable and safe, in your own body. So it requires us each to be responsible. It requires each and every one of us women to be responsible for unearthing the fear, trauma, unwanted touch, abuse, whatever it is, in the body. We're responsible to heal that. And as each of us does that, it makes a huge difference for the collective of women. And another tendency, the woman will either draw back in relationship because I actually have fear of you, and so I'm gonna keep a distance between us. I know it's not safe, so I'm gonna keep a distance between us. This happens all the time in long-term relationship. I'm gonna keep a distance between us. You might not know why you're doing that, or maybe you have a sense, because I don't really want to be vulnerable, because who knows what could happen. You might know that. So if you're, when we drop into the heart, if you really do want connection, it's going to require us actually to be vulnerable, to allow ourselves to be held by the other, to be seen by the other, to take the risk with the other when it's a safe person, right? To take those risks and let that old fear, whether it's mine, my mother's, or my grandmother's, and so on, wherever it comes from, to let that fear like roll off your back, like out of your body, out of your heart, out of this contracted place. We gotta open that up, or we won't have the love and connection that we're really longing for. And it'll feel painful. At times it'll feel extremely painful. So we must face that fear that we have of the lover, or in this case I'm talking about the woman's fear of the man, or the yin in oneself, the more yin self, afraid of the yang. Like the yin is, in the yin yang symbol, is the black, right? So it's this very inward part of ourselves, and the yang is the light, right? So the yin is like, I'll be obliterated, you know, like I'll totally disappear if I really deeply connect. And this is how our ego operates. Like if I really let myself connect with this person, then I might disappear. And yet we have to take that risk if we want that. And the yang self, or the males, are equally as fearful of women, or this yin nature. But we got to do it. It's the time. It's the time. We're so done with being separate and disconnected. We're so done with feeling like alone and contracted and like all sucked up in ourselves. And so we must take the risk to open and be vulnerable and say, hey, this is what I notice is going on. I notice I moved back from you, or I notice, you know, I want connection, but I can't seem to cross that bridge. I can't seem to get across the gap. So it starts by using our voice. In my experience, it starts by using my voice with the other, but maybe you need to initially use your voice, like by writing it on a journal, by writing poetry or a song, or telling your friends, or sharing with someone that you know can hear, or with yourself, and listen and honor that. Like, oh, I get it. I get that fear. I understand why you'd be afraid. And when we can hear that and just have compassion for it, then part of it kind of melts. Just part of it can like breathe and relax, like, thank you for recognizing me. And then we have just this little bit more strength to potentially face what creates fear in us. And so I wish for that for you. I wish for you connection, deep connection that you long for and desire, and to move through those fears. And please get the support you need around it. Talk about it. If there's any way I can support you in that, I do. Pray about it, you know. Do what you do that works for you. And may you feel that more and more of the joy of connection.